Hey everybody, welcome to A Million Little Podcast. We're a few days late again, but
sorry.
That's okay. So it's okay, Jaimie. It's okay. We're gonna give our
apologizing to you.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're letting ourselves off the hook this time.
Oh, good.
I am, because we were in Las Vegas this weekend. I'm Kevin. I'm here with Jaimie.
Hi.
And we're here with Dave. Just kidding. We're not. We are recording right now on Monday. It was just a weird schedule week for us. Dave is at the Monday Night Football game. He's a huge Detroit Lions fan, and he's watching. Last I saw, the Lions were beating the Packers, so I'm hopeful that is still the case for Dave right now. But so just you and me, Jaimie, on this one.
Dave's a fan of the Lions, like PJ's a fan of snooping.
PJ's Snoopy. PJ Snoopy does sound like a wide receiver. That sounds like PJ Snoopy would be a wide receiver for some team. Jaimie, can you tell people where they can follow us online if they are not yet? If they are somehow listening to us on a podcast without knowing where we are on Instagram or Twitter?
Wow, I can try. We're at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram, and we're at A Million Podcast on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that's the case. So that's where we're at, and this is episode 3 of season 2 that we are talking about now, and the title of that was Mixed Signals. So I will read the ABC recap of that.
And we get the title in the episode in a line.
They have a titular drop.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Love when that happens in movies.
Yeah, when they're like, "Good to see you, Godfather 2." That's one of my favorite lines from Godfather 2.
We did it. It's happening.
Yep. On the verge of becoming a filmmaker, already an insane...
It's a ridiculous sentence.
It's a ridiculous sentence.
You can't be on the verge of being a film. Either you made a film or you didn't, man.
Yeah, you're only... I can't... What logistical point are you on the verge of being a filmmaker?
It's weird.
I mean, actual question.
Oh, on the verge of? I mean, it will... I guess, like...
It's stupid, I'm saying, from a stupid perspective. I know, well,
because it's like... Because on the verge of is stuff like, oh, well, you're on the verge of being a filmmaker, I guess, when you're about to shoot the last... You're about to make the last scene of the film.
You think the last scene?
Well, because you're on the verge of... I almost made a film.
See, I think you're on the verge of being a filmmaker when you almost hit record the first time. As soon as you record something, you're a filmmaker. That's what I think.
But what if you hate it and you end up only making a scene, and then you're only a scene maker?
You're a scene maker. You're a scenester. You're on the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you're on the final scene, about to do it, I'm on the verge of being a whole ass filmmaker.
A whole ass filmmaker. Yeah, I don't know. I think just once you're recording anything, you're a filmmaker. This is something. I'm peevish about this in general, and I never knew I would be. But the network summations of things of episodes are really stupid. If you listen to my other podcasts, Sex and the City, it's we recap all the HBO, like what HBO says, and I always have problems with it. Already, we've been talking for 2 minutes about the first line. Who writes these things? On the verge of becoming a filmmaker, Rome takes a meeting with an old producer friend. Gary steps in to help Danny prepare to audition for his school play.
That's fine.
Delilah, craving some adult time. I don't know that she comes off as craving adult time right away. Agrees to go to dinner with Andrew. So those are the things. Gina not involved at all here, and I think had the most story.
That's so... About. What the hell? She and... For my money, she and Dan... Actually, you know what?
Danny had a lot of story.
Most people really got in there this time, except for the daughter, Sophie. I was like, whose name I've forgotten because she hasn't even been around this season.
Yeah, she really not at all. She drove the car once, and that was it.
I wonder if she's actually on tour, unlike Eddie, or doing something.
Sophie tours more than Eddie for sure.
Yeah.
Lizzie Green, is that the actress's name?
Maybe. Sounds right.
You would think as the premier Million Little Things podcast, you would think we would know that. I think we do know that.
The fact that there's no competition makes us lazy.
It is. And
you want us to do better, start your own podcast.
I forget if I said this before, but there is another Million Little Things podcast, but it's sort of, there's like a company that just all they do is recap podcasts.
Oh.
And I think they're bad.
Just another... sausage in the podcast meat factory.
That makes it sound better to me. then I think it is. You tell me there's a sausage in the podcast meat factory. I'm like,
but we're
lunch.
like an upstate, like independent farm that would be too expensive for Gina to use for her restaurant.
Right, but she would try to use us.
Yes, making bespoke sausages for
we're
you.
a bespoke TV recap sausage podcast. A bespoke sausage TV recap podcast, because we're not podcasting about sausages. What I'm trying to say is, it's been 5 minutes and we've talked about sausages and filmmaking. And yet we're the best. We're the best podcast
Can you
about
believe
this.
it?
So weird.
Sorry again.
Yeah. So that's the recap. Their recap, which is incorrect. Whoever is in charge of writing those things. So you mentioned PJ being a thief. I do like going through how we did last time.
A snoop and a thief.
A snoop and a thief. Yes.
We can just go through because there's not a lot of stuff to it. It's basically like we pick up where we left off before, where we think he's saying John's my dad, and then gets in an elevator and leaves. But in reality, Rome's like, get your ass out of that elevator. Yeah, that's what would happen in real life. Like, you can't just say John's your dad and then fucking leave.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So they have a chat about it. And then it's funny because, like, Rome, for this whole thing, he talks to PJ a couple times about what's going on. And Rome just is almost like a buddy of his. It's almost like Rome's disconnected. Like, it's not like John wasn't his best friend, where, like, PJ wants to test hairs that he found on the Harvard shirt that he found,
right?
Because he thinks the hairs might be John's, and he wants to do a DNA test to see if it's his dad. And Rome is basically like, dude, that would be cool. We got to get these hairs in a Ziploc bag. It's like, what are you doing?
Multiple episodes now, we have Rome just explaining what crimes are to people. Because that happened, and then when they were going to take the crib out, he was like, no, we can't, don't do this. I can't be involved in this. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, he's, right. Well, and also his detective skills are, I don't know, sloppy at best. He's saying, I felt John had depression. I have depression.
Right.
John's probably my dad. It's like, well, in that case, Rome could fucking be your dad.
Yeah, racist.
Almost everyone in the entire planet could be your dad.
Yeah. Why isn't Rome your dad? You get along with him.
He keeps...
Yeah. He has depression. You're both artists. You want to go to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, for you all who aren't fucking dorks who don't know that. And Rome is, on the verge of becoming a filmmaker, from what I understand.
Exactly. He keeps jumping to conclusions.
Yep.
He's going to jump to his
conclusion. One thing we did in Vegas, we went to Cheetah's strip club to see my friend the Godfather from WWE, but turns out he's not there anymore. I swear all the insane words I just said are true.
Look it up.
But yeah, we went, and
Cheetah's from Showgirls.
That's where that line
is
from.
One of the best lines from Showgirls.
You're going to jump to your conclusions. Also, PJ, when he's describing basically the situation that led him to some of this, and he followed Gary, right? He followed Gary to the hospital.
Yes,
and then
that's how he met everyone, and he just happened to. It's like the last. It's like the last 2 minutes of a Hallmark movie, where, like, in every Hallmark movie, particularly, well, I was going to say the Christmas. It's all of them. They're in love, they're in love, they're in love. About 15 minutes from the end, there's a horrible misunderstanding, and you think they're going to break up, and then about 2 minutes before the end, we find out it's a misunderstanding, and everyone kisses, and it's great.
Right.
And this was just like, and Rome is just like, wait, so you followed me? It's like, and then you pretended to like my screenplay. He's like, no, I did like your screenplay.
I really liked your screenplay, and that's how I learned what depression was. Yeah, it was. I don't really have a problem with it. It was just a weird sequence of things where he said, "Yeah, I followed you," and then I actually just liked the script. Of course, my life was in shambles here. I think my father's lying to me, and there's some mysterious video, all this stuff. But I also picked up a movie script, and I was really into it, and I have some notes. It's a strange combination of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover with what people are going through in this episode. He loves the script, and then someone else loves the script, but doesn't like the suicide parts.
Right.
But that's pretty much it. And then PJ tries to trick his mom into talking about the $500,000. Oh, Rome drops they're talking about the video was the last thing that John did was leave a video to PJ's mom. Rome, for some reason, was like, no, the last thing he did was leave her $500,000. Like, buddy, he did. Come on, man. Who are you friends with here?
Right. I mean, this is a stranger in the tradition of Maggie just being everyone's best friend in season 1 after a minute.
Yeah.
He's really trusting with PJ for kind of no reason. But, I mean, he does know that PJ... There is some weird connection here. So he knows PJ, he's not just Wilden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. No, yeah, exactly. Rome likes a mystery.
Yeah.
And he can't help himself. He's in it. He wants to find stuff out. And then PJ tries to trick his mom into talking about the $500,000
by bringing up the Rhode Island School of Design
thing. I can't afford it. You guys wouldn't happen to have any money put away, would you? She's like, no.
Right. You wouldn't have happened to have had a pretty nice, no strings attached financial offer from my real dad, did you?
No.
And then, I was going to say along those lines, Jaimie, what confidence on a percentage scale, what percent confident are you that both of your parents are your parents, would you say?
Extremely confident.
Do you feel like you're a hundo on that?
Yeah, I'm a hundo on that.
Yeah, I think I am too.
It's pretty obvious. So good. Yay, good for us.
Yeah. I mean, I did the 23andMe thing, which I think now obviously is just a government or some sort of big brother just collecting your DNA so they can clone you and then we'll have to fight ourselves later.
Yeah, probably.
Which will be fun.
Bunch of Gemini people.
Yeah, but it was...
Whatever. They were probably going to do it anyway.
But I did that, and it's like, yeah, everything checked out exactly.
Some people get a surprise when they do that, but no, it all checked out. Also, if you just looked at my parents and me and my brother, it's like,
my dad, I didn't grow up with my dad for the most part, but like he's the one, I'm the one of the 3 kids that does look like him, so it's like, all right, I guess and my mom, if anything, it seems like my mom wouldn't be my mom, but I'm pretty certain about that.
Pretty certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys like Lady and the Tramp up, where it's like, when Lady and the Tramp had kids, like the boys looked like the dad and the girls looked like the mom.
Yeah.
Except you're all boys, so you look like the dad. The other ones look like the mom.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. That's that. And
that's PJ.
Have you ever tried to trick your parents into telling you something that you knew was the truth that you knew had been hidden from you?
Oh, dang.
I feel like maybe you have, but I don't know what that is. And think about that at home. Email us at amillionlittlepodcast@gmail.com if you've ever, or you can DM us on Instagram, a million little podcast on Instagram, if you have a good story along those lines. Like if you've really got your parents to admit to some shit like this.
I mean, they've definitely done it to me, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
That your parents got out of you?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm just sure it was something just like, did you eat that cookie? I'm like, no. And then
God. Cut to the tape.
Cut to the tape.
This bitch ate the cookie.
Really baller shit like that. That's the kind of trouble I was getting into. Jaimie, did you eat this whole box of granola bars? Yes.
Case closed.
My fist is still in it. So
basically, they're going down that mystery line, trying to I guess figure out who his real dad is. Which his real dad is 9/11 guy, right?
I assume so. They try to make it sound... The clip they show of John is like, I left you when you needed me the most. They're trying to keep it ambiguous. Like, I mean, that could be about leaving a lady you knocked up, or it could just be about leaving a lady who is knocked up by your friend and you abandoned her. I think it's 9/11 guy.
Yes, I think so, too. And then at the end, he's mailing a big box. Is he mailing the jacket back? What is he mailing in that box?
Just give it to what's in the box.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be the DNA test. Mm-hmm. Could be, but it was
a big ass DNA test. I think he did the DNA test wrong. If that's the thing.
I filled this box with spit. Do something with it. I think. I don't know. I assumed DNA, but it was a large box for a few hairs. So who effing knows?
Right. All right, so that's
it for the mystery.
That's a wrap on PJ. That's an episode wrap on PJ for us. Yeah, who do you want to go to next?
Let's see. I mean, there's Delilah. There wasn't a ton with Delilah. Mm-hmm. She's in the park. She sees another lady her age who also has a baby, who she assumes is her baby. Turns out that lady's a grandma.
That's early to be a grandma.
It is early to be a grandma.
Delilah, because Delilah's not even, I mean, I guess we don't know how old she is, because she's just like hot. So it's like hard to tell, you know.
Yeah, I know. Everyone else is like, what, late 30s supposed to be?
Everyone else is supposed to be like 36. So, I mean, it's, right? I think that is the case. There's like ish. 36-ish. So, maybe Delilah's older than the rest, but that's weird.
She would almost have to be, because Danny's 12. And then Sophie's what? Oh, 16, because she was driving.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if she had her, I guess you'd think she maybe 22 at the youngest.
Yeah, how old was she supposed to be when she met? I mean, they were at a bar. She had to be 21.
Yeah, otherwise you can't get into bars.
She's probably older than them. I bet she's more like 40.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess 40-ish, but it's still not like really grandma age. It's not like she's a 48-year-old mom. It's not like a big what the fuck, sort of pregnancy.
Yeah, no, nothing insane. But she just realizes everyone else.
Sure.
She thought someone else was in the same position she was in.
Right.
Turns out, nah. And perhaps for that reason, if she's feeling sort of old and out of place, Andrew, the restaurant guy, asks her out if she would like some grown-up time. Mm-hmm. And then he gets all stammery and nervous, and she's like, I'll give you a grown-up.
Yeah.
And
You like me doing that? Shall I do it more quickly, or shall I maintain the same speed?
Yeah, he's trying to do grown-up stuff.
Yeah, that's what he did. Mm-hmm. And so then they end up going on a date or not a date. Hard to tell. And basically, they go to a restaurant, they sit down, they kind of touch hands, and then they both freak out, and they're like, we're not ready for this. Delilah says she's not ready for this. He says, me neither, and I don't believe it from Andrew.
But he's not pushing it, which I think is good, and he does the thing where I think he's clearly initiating the hand contact, and you're supposed to if you're the dude, but that is hard to do. Also, one thing I did like is kind of a theme in this episode was some tricky, non-traditional kinds of first dates. Basically, we see that in two different ways. We see that with Eddie. We see that with Eddie and Katherine, and we see it with Delilah and Andrew. Basically, they're on a first date where they've sort of been talking and flirtatious and stuff, and they're both rebounding from losing their significant other. Both their significant others passed away. So that it's like, how do you date after that? That's a tough thing, and that is an interest. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and I think they play that pretty well. And then Eddie and Katherine, which we'll get to more later, but they are basically on their first date in this episode after deciding to try again after Eddie was busted cheating, and I guess cheating real hard for a long time and making a baby out of that cheating. So it's a pretty significant cheat, I guess. And then, basically, if you're going to try to keep it going, it's like the first date rebounding from yourselves is also a tricky and
it's pretty weird,
difficult, and kind of interesting thing.
Yeah.
I think that they do a good job showing that almost all, to me, and not someone who's been on a million first dates or anything, but I think the best first dates are always not dates.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Accidental hangouts. Where there's an activity or a thing that you're doing, and there's not date pressure.
Yeah, and because otherwise it's very difficult to talk and be real and be authentically yourself when you're just in your head being like, well, this is a date. We're romantically interested in each other, even though we haven't had anything happen to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Do we want to... we could just talk about them. That's honestly pretty much it for
Delilah and Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything else to say about that first date they had? I will say, Danny is a little fired up about he's very casual about his mom going on this date, which as a child whose mom did go on dates, I don't know, man. I don't think you're that fired up about it.
Danny's he's just very cool about it, which Danny would be, but
sure.
He's
damn Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's saying that she's going to a meeting with Andrew, and Danny says, I know it's been a long time. It's been a while since you had a quote, meeting. He doesn't say quote, but he says it like he's saying quote.
Like it's not a...
He's like, you'll do great. It's like, oh, damn, all right. He's just like, go get him, Mom.
Yeah.
Go get smooched.
Right. He's much cooler with it than I think most kids are. Also, Delilah, I get not being super ready for a date, even though she's kind of into it, because the last two dudes you hung out with, one killed himself, and then the other one knocked you up. Is a wiener, and that wiener knocked you up, and and we're like pretending he's not the dad of your kid. So your recent track record for dating is not without drama. So I do understand it might be quick to get to another one when... Yeah. Within this calendar year, she was with her husband, who's no longer alive, and with this other guy, right? This is a big year.
That's quite a lot. And it does make sense that it's like, yes, that it's a very short period of time for that. However, but then when you have a new baby and you're dealing with that stuff, time probably feels like it's going a lot slower. And she probably did think it's like, I could take a night where I go out and have a drink with a grown-up and just like have some grown-up time, some grown-up fun. And then it also makes sense that you actually get there and there's timid hand-holding and it's like, no, fuck, no.
I think that is realistic.
Yeah. I think it's like, maybe I need a girls' night is what it is. Maybe I don't want to go on a date and deal with all that stuff, because that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Also, it's the added layer of you're dating someone who is an investor in a company that you also have a stake in. I guess you're co-investors, maybe. I guess that's the relationship. Because it's theoretically, as Gina says, it's Gina and Delilah's restaurant that Andrew's an investor in. But Delilah... she has no skills she's bringing to this. she has the money that...
Her skill was, flirting with the investor.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. That's business. That is doing business.
That's a business
And then,
skill.
the money that she and John had.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, getting in there. But yes, no restaurant skills.
Right. Unless I forgot something. But if I did forget something, I think it's fair that I forgot it. I think it's...
No. No, that ain't her scene.
All right, so so do we want to talk Eddie and Katherine since we're talking date wise?
Sure.
So Eddie and Katherine, we begin we begin with them today, where they're just like, they wake up. Theo was sleeping between them. They all fell asleep together. It's one thing to fall asleep in more clothes than you mean to. They fell asleep in literally 100%. They could have just gone to work in the amount of clothes that they fell asleep in. They could have gone to work. Jaimie is fighting out of a sweater as we speak.
Speaking of clothes.
Yeah.
It's hot in here. I'm taking off a hoodie.
They fell asleep in all their clothes, unruffled. Their hair was perfect.
They woke up like this.
They for sure woke up like this to a degree where I was like, wait, did they just fall asleep for a nap? No, that was waking up for a day. Yeah. That was a little weirdly staged, I think. But then Theo, go ahead.
Theo's just very excited because Mom and Dad are getting along again. So he sneaks out of bed to make breakfast, and we get our Theo back on his bullshit line. They come down, they hear a lot of clanking in the kitchen, and Theo says, I was going to make banana pancakes, but then I realized I'm only 9.
God,
There's always cereal, which I do appreciate that. I love some cereal.
You love cereal.
Cereal was kind of a theme this episode, too.
As Jaimie can attest to, there's few things that I hate more than a child saying something like from a third person perspective about being a child, like the precocious, insane, no child says this kind of shit. I hated that. I don't mind this actor at all, but like Theo's fun. The kid who plays Theo seems great. And I like that. I do like that the writers and directors and everybody picked up that this kid is naturally a little weird. That's a compliment from us. And it seems like they played with that weirdness. That's great. But I was going to do this, and then I remembered I'm 9. Just go on a fucking Disney show then. If you just go be one of those kids who's just a real shrimp boat, just like overacting everything. Like he wasn't overacting it, but that's just it's a line I hate. Yeah. Basically, every kid on Modern Family, I also hate everything they say. And I understand that I'm not necessarily in the majority that way, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, same. And also, it's like, why couldn't he have just said, like, and then I realized I don't know how to make them, or I don't know how to work the stove, or something, like the actual thing that
I don't know
happen.
which part if this is a pancake. There's a lot of dust in this bag. What happened?
I realized I don't know what pancakes are made out of.
Right. All that would have been great. And then also Theo, it turns out, can't even pour cereal, which I did like. I like that detail.
Sure.
He has a box of cereal, and he just kept... He had multiple bowls set out, but he just kept filling one until it was spilled.
I respect it.
Yeah, I guess.
I love cereal.
You do.
Get as much as you can.
I wrote down pours Cheerios like an idiot. That's pretty harsh, but...
Oh, man.
But again, I liked that. That detail I liked.
Yes.
Him talking about the banana pancakes, that sucked.
Yep, but that's something a 9-year-old would do. Much like agreeing to go to a sleepover that he doesn't want to go to just so his parents have time alone to fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Theo, fucking wingman for both his parents right now.
Yeah.
He is trying real hard. He is shipping his parents real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically he gets a call to go to a sleepover. His parents assume he won't go. He's like, no, I would love to go. Trust me, I really want to. You guys should go see a movie or something. You know, get drunk.
Yeah,
Take off your shirt, see what happens.
Yeah, have a drink, do something new.
Discover each other. So he goes off to the sleepover, and Katherine and Eddie are gonna maybe ordering food, and they're looking at menus on the table, and they spot the table scratch that Katherine made with her butt, and then they both get real horny and decide to go out to eat instead.
That's a good summation. Yeah, the scratch, the one good time they had, they see that, and it's a real trigger for them.
Yeah,
horny wise.
Yeah, they both basically have the same flashback at the same time, and then they go out to eat. So, and they end up playing pool. Turns out Katherine's a card shark.
She's a card shark.
Card shark for pool, which doesn't help in the pool game.
She lines up to knock in that 8-ball, and she's like, "Was this your card?" And they're like, "Could you please get to the pool?" But I would like to point out, maybe you were going to point this out too, but that really good pool shot, she did that shit. It was one shot. There was no stunt woman there.
Oh, shit.
That's actually the actress that plays Katherine.
Bet they wrote that in because she's actually good at stuff.
That was a good, cool shot. Yeah.
And apparently she plays pool sometimes while Theo's at Cub Scouts. And it's like, you know what? No wonder the moms hate you, Katherine. God damn, you're showing up looking all good. And someone's like, probably like husband or cousin is just like, I saw Katherine the other day gaming people at pool on a Saturday afternoon. It's like, what?
I saw the perfect one. Also, she's rich. She's a lawyer.
A successful lawyer. It's like, holy shit. You're the hottest lady in town, Katherine.
Hell yeah. That was very cool. And I'm glad they shot it like that so you could tell, oh yeah, that's real. She did that shit.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, she's a badass. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
Except then she has to force a laugh at something that happens between her and Eddie for like 30 seconds before they kind of accidentally kiss.
Yes. And I like that moment in general because it basically she fucked up and she had the cool moment, but she played the wrong balls. She sure did. Eddie's balls, unfortunately.
Balls.
Yep.
Yeah.
But she basically played the stripes,
right?
When she was the solids. I
yes.
think.
She goofed in an adorable way.
Yes.
In an adorably badass way. She goofed,
and that is a realistic, I think, thing that would cause you to get a case of the sillies on a date in a good way. But I think you're right. It maybe played a bit long. Yeah.
And then they smooch, right? I think
they do eventually. Yes.
Yes, eventually, and then.
But also understand being hesitant because it is like a first kiss again, kind of, because it's and I think weirder than a first kiss overall.
Yes.
By a lot.
Yeah, because you kind of know what's coming.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Trying to make something old new again.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's very odd. And it's like, it is first datey because it's like he doesn't know that she plays pool. Like, that's a new thing.
Right.
That he didn't know about. So it's like a weird half and half situation.
Mm-hmm.
First date energy with old relationship vibes.
Yep, there we go. Jaimie did it.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she goes right into basically, and it's not like he could have gotten like sad, weird. Like it's a little bit of a mirror of the date with Delilah and Andrew, because they like, you know, sort of touch hands, and then she's like, actually no, and she sort of explains, and they're like, maybe we're not dating.
Right.
And then Katherine slows it down, but it's not to say no. It's just like, look, this is confusing. This is super weird. I'm probably going to send you a lot of mixed signals. Because, like, sometimes I'm going to be into it and sometimes I'm not.
And that's the titular line. That's the line that is the title
signals.
of the episode.
Uh-huh. She's like, sometimes I'm going to remember that you knocked up another lady and and it's going to make me mad. I'm not going to want to smooch you anymore. And then, you know, sometimes it's fine. And he's like, all right. And then, you know, then they have to go pick up Theo because... He's half wiener. He's
half wiener, yeah. It seems like he might have been a dominant gene, the wiener. In this case, he wieners out before the end of the sleepover, and they have to pick him up. But that's fine, because also it's a thing where I think they went as far as they were supposed to go at that time, even for them, because if they, I think it was going well and better than they expected at that point. But if Theo wasn't around, they would have felt pressure to do it, I think. Yeah. And it probably wouldn't have been the right time to do it again for the first time. So I think that that ended up being a bit of kismet.
One of the rare times, one of your other pet peeves, when a kid ruins the doing it.
That's true. Kid or anybody.
Anybody.
If people are going to have sex and then something ruins that, it drives me batty. I hate it. I hate it. I get viewer blue balls. It sucks. Let people fuck.
Let them do it.
One of my general...
Come on.
Yeah.
But a rare exception to the rule.
Yeah, this is fine. They weren't supposed to do it at this point. That would have been too much.
Exactly. But then they go pick up Theo, and it's fine, and he thinks that his Augie's furnace is haunted, and then they go make the pancakes at home. And then
time to make the pancakes.
Yep. And then Theo, you know, nicely reminds his mom that she left him for the, quote, Grand Canyon recently.
Right,
and then says he took the suitcase with him to the sleepover so she couldn't leave again. And she is, understandably, visibly upset by this.
Yeah.
A quick reminder that you did a real shitty mom move for a minute there. But then it's not, but then, you know, Eddie holds her hand. Is basically like, it's cool.
It's okay. This kid doesn't know anything. Have you seen him try to pour a cereal?
Yeah.
He's not going to be there. You can't traumatize this kid. It's not going to happen.
No, we're fine. So, and then that's pretty much that. Kind of a sort of a happy ending for them for once.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about
House Wiener.
Yeah, we talked about Rome a little bit before him with PJ. So we might as well let's do Rome and Gina next.
Yeah,
their storylines. So where do you want to start with that, Jaimie?
Well, Rome's big thing is that he is showing a script to his old producer friend Todd, who is a big tool bag.
Mm-hmm. He could be Eddie's relative, how wiener this guy is, really.
Yeah, they're leaving the meeting, and it's basically a lot of Todd is like, oh man, that was great. I almost cried. But, like, the suicide thing's hard to sell. Why suicide? Why don't you give this guy an athletic injury to overcome? It's like, holy shit, man. It's like they took all the ideas they had of why this guy might reject the script and then just kept all of them.
Yeah, kept them all. Which
all
I do bet that there's a good chance that DJ Nash, the creator of the show, who did base it on a true story, so in this way, Rome is is analogous to DJ Nash, the creator. I bet these are actual notes that DJ got when pitching a million little things to people, where they're like, "Does he have to kill himself though? Because that's pretty dark." And he said yes. And DJ had this in his life. You know, something like this happened with a friend in his life, and that led to creating the show.
Yeah,
I'm not making that up, right? That's I'm
sure,
certain
probably.
I'm fairly certain.
I'll say yes.
Yes,
but yeah, it is the kind of thing where it's like it sounds incredibly tooly and like not something someone would actually say, and in that way, it is probably extremely accurate to to notes that you would probably get. Cause,
right?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't fucking get it.
Yeah, Jaimie and I have worked in television for basically since we met doing TV stuff in college, but we've worked professionally in TV since then. And these are these are absolutely things that you get because the notes you get are not just from people who know how to write things. They're almost nearly exclusively not. They are from executives and people who sort of have money, or people who just filled their way up the production chain to a place where they justify their existence by telling you to change something, and then you change it, and it's slightly worse, and then it eventually gets on. I mean, this is stuff that happens at every level of TV and film and all that. So I do believe. So to me, these notes read true. I just want you guys to know there are notes that are this dumb. So that's not crazy. This guy is kind of over the top teabag. I did the craziest thing was I was just like, oh, is this some fucking big shot from the Boston film scene? Like what movie execs are we talking to in Boston? I was
thinking of that today.
Because we're in New York and there's not even a lot here. But,
I know.
Yeah.
I keep trying to keep track of like when people are wearing like jackets or not, because it's like I feel like it's never been cold. This is like, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's like so obviously filmed in LA. Like people's backyards all have like outdoor grills and stuff, and it's like sunny all the time. Sure. It's just like, this is not Boston.
Yeah,
the show would be a lot grayer if it was in Boston, which really is just to say that it's like I didn't even pick up on that. Like, yeah, he went and met with a producer because they're in LA. Right. I was like, oh wait, no,
it feels like
Boston,
LA. Right? And it's like, that's not a real critique on the show. It's fucking Seinfeld was clearly not New York either.
Of course.
The most New York show ever.
Who gives a hoot?
Who hoots is my question. The next mystery, season 3. Who hooted? So Rome is pitching that, and he's like, at first he's sort of going along with it, and that's also realistic because he doesn't ultimately end up taking the notes. He takes possession over it, and he based on a true story. Creatively, also, you don't have to put that under under things.
But he's owning it.
Yes, the word should stand on its own.
Because he was, when people were telling him this stuff, he was trying to avoid saying that it was based on him or his friends or whatever. He didn't want to admit to the depression and all that stuff. So putting the based on a true story is just like, there it is. It's out there. You can't pretend like this is just made up.
Also, executives do tend to like that shit.
Yeah.
They like the real like telling them that this is based on a real thing and about you. That is, it's easier to hook people in a meeting trying to get a show made, basically. That's all good stuff. And so it also reads true to me that he'd be like, I'll make those changes, and then you don't. Like that's,
and he may have considered it, because when you're thinking about like, I really want to get my project made, this is my thing. It's like, I'm sure if Rome was a real guy, there would be like a real moment of just like, well, is there something I can change and it's still the right story? Like, is there a way to do this? And then probably at the end, you're like, no.
Right. And unless you're Scorsese at this...
My suicide movie kind of has to have a suicide in it.
Yeah. And unless you're Scorsese at this point where no one can give you any notes and all of your movies are 11 hours, then it's a collaborative process. You don't make a movie on your own. You don't make a TV on your own. Yeah. So part of that process and being a good professional is considering the note. But they're just so frequently given to you by fucking schmucks that, I mean, not always. There are good ones, and the good ones stand out. The good executives do really stand out.
There are good notes.
Yeah.
There's stuff that actually makes it better.
Absolutely.
Usually you can cut something.
So basically he does that. He has and he also bumps into a guy who's like, oh, there's this commercial job you'd be... we'd love to have you direct, but he doesn't want to do that, obviously. It's a shit job that depressed him. And we get to... I mean, we can, I guess, close the Rome specific part of it off and then get to Gina.
But, it's tied in. It's basically, while he's doing this, Gina's going through a lot of shit on her own.
And Rome basically gets to the end, and he decides he's not going to take the guy's note just to get the movie made. What he is going to do is take the commercial job, doing Lexus commercials And I wonder if Lexus is, like, advertising on this show, or because it, like, paints it
like
in a
it
dumbass
was.
way.
Yeah.
But they're still getting the name out there.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know
So,
what you mean. I'm
it's,
not sure.
it's curious. But he decides to do it.
Get at us, Lexus. What's the deal?
Yeah, sponsor me, Lexus, personally. But he takes the job, and Gina's like, no, but that, you hated it. And he said, yeah, especially when I didn't know what I was doing it for.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know what I am doing it for. It's to support you. And I think that is good because you got to make money in some way. And we all
got a very nice apartment.
Yeah, we all do shit that we don't want to do job-wise because you have to make money in some way. And it is helpful to know, okay, I'm doing this job for that. Like, I'll do a thing. So I'm a stand-up comic is my main job, and I work in TV otherwise too. But I have another gig coming up where I'm hosting like an award show, not like not a good one that you're going to watch.
Have you heard of the Oscars?
Yeah, but I'll host like a thing where it's like a company's award show, and it's really good money for one night, and it's just me trying to basically making an otherwise boring night a little funny, presenting these awards and shit. So I'm doing another one of those, and it's not showbiz, it's not comedy, really. It's just me putting on a suit and hanging out with the first time the people who ran the thing were nice, but everyone at the awards we're going to were huge pieces of shit, just rich assholes. And
it's making people not leave before the night's over, basically.
Right. So not my dream, not what I'm doing, but what helps me is seeing the money I'm getting and knowing, okay, this specifically does this. This, we just took our basically group of friends. If we made a show like A Million Little Things, that group of friends, we just went to Vegas for the first time in many years together. Yeah. So I can tell myself that's what I'm doing with this money. And I think it makes shitty jobs a lot easier to deal with when you specifically see where that money's going. And now that's what Rome is doing.
Yes.
So
nailed it.
So I thought purpose to bullshit jobs. That is helpful.
Yes, and he's doing it to help Gina specifically.
Yeah. Because
she is trying to cut ties with all the money from people that don't make her happy. Mm-hmm. She's dealing... Basically, you're in the preview, you're reminded about her shitty, sexually abusive Uncle Neil who died and gave her money. And the fact that she gave away all that money to a women's shelter and did not use it for the restaurant. Mm-hmm. Good move. And then she's trying to make it work with Andrew, the money guy at her new restaurant, because she's trying to make the thing work and make compromises, et cetera, et cetera. They have a meeting, which is like, doesn't go badly, but it's clear that they both have different ideas of how this restaurant should work. And she's I think does a very good job throughout the episode of like getting more and more frustrated. You can tell that for whatever reason she's like starting to freak out. And the women's shelter that she gave money to is having a fundraiser. They want her to be there. They want to put her in their brochure, to like say thank you for giving the money. She keeps saying she wants to be anonymous because, she doesn't want people to know about what happened with her uncle, which makes a lot of sense. And then basically at the end, she's at home, she's freaking out and talking to Rome, and sort of she's talking, and during the sentence is almost like going back and forth talking about Andrew, the restaurant guy, and her uncle, like in the way that like her uncle had power over her. Now Andrew has power over her because of his money, and she doesn't want to do things his way. She wants to do it on her own terms, and she basically feels like she's getting taken advantage of again and not doing things her way. So she's like, basically, I want to give his money back. I want to take out money, get a loan on the apartment. And is that okay? She basically has a very long thing. And then Rome's like, yeah, all right.
And that's why he takes the job.
And he's like sending a text. He's like, I just took a job. I'm going to help you pay for it. We're on the same team and I support you.
Yeah. And and I think the writing here was, I think, very weirdly well done.
Yeah.
I think because it seems like she's talking around herself and not making any sense. going between Andrew, who she works with at the job, who's the investor, who, by the way, is not abusive.
No, he's nice.
He's fine. I mean, he can be like annoying, I guess, but there's a big jump between annoying and abusive. Also, like, he put his money in to this business, he gets an opinion. That's how things work. And she's basically talking herself around to how that is different, but identifying why she feels so extra sensitive about these things.
Yeah.
And it is, and she's finding it from her own past, basically. And it's a really good job of acting. It's a really complicated bit of writing that I think they do well, and it's well communicated.
Yes. It's almost like a scene. Could be a scene where she was talking to a therapist, except she does both parts, basically.
It's their version of the Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
She it's not your faults herself. Pretty much. And yeah, it was very good. She did great. The writing was good. And it's like, and you get the point. By the end of it, you understand, because it's like she has been extra harsh about the Andrew guy, and you can see now it's like it's making her have the same feeling she had of helplessness from before and like not being in charge.
Right. Sorry, let's get to...
and she says at the end she's going to go to the benefit and she's going to be in the brochure, all that stuff. She says, I'm a survivor, I'm going to go to the benefit, they're going to know my name, etc.
Yeah.
So that's also a big deal. They're both putting it out there of like stuff that they've been hiding. Rome is saying based on a true story. He's saying like I was depressed, etc. And she's saying I'm a survivor of sexual assault, etc. And I'm going to put it out there to help.
Yeah,
people.
They're both making the decision to be more honest too. So all right, let's go to Gary and Maggie. Basically, Maggie's mom, they're still playing it. Man, it's, I think, one episode too long to play it like, we don't know who this fella is. It's like, well, we basically did know that they weren't dating, as we talked about at the end of the last podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, we know this. This is stretched out a little long for me on that storyline.
Because the last episode ended with like, oh, who is this? She's touching his hair, even though we're pretty sure it's not going to be that they're dating. And then it ends almost the same way, where she's like, shows up at the house with him, and it's like... Are they dating? No, of course.
It doesn't
they're
move
not.
the story forward at all. It's just a recycle. And then Maggie comes in, overhears her mom talking on her earbuds to this guy, and then she bails. Pretty quick mom bail, real sort of like, I won't listen to the thing that could very easily solve this problem. And then we see at the basically at the very end, or in the preview for the next episode, that she. Or it's in this episode, right?
In the episode, she shows up with, the Maggie goes to talk to her mom again, and then gets mad because she's on the phone with Eric, and says to her mom, you lost Dad, and now you lost me, and leaves. It's like, man, come on. Like, without listening to a word. Her mom does say, no, I'm not dating him.
Yeah.
And she doesn't bother to listen to an explanation and runs out.
Yeah, so, and the reveal where Maggie brought the guy... to
Maggie's mom.
Where Maggie's mom brought the guy to their apartment. Didn't tell Maggie or the guy that they each other didn't know. That's a bitch move. That's asshole stuff. That is a dickhead move.
Real dickhead.
Where it's just, you're giving no one the opportunity to consent to any of this. It's just, you're the most important. It doesn't matter. And that shit drives me bananas. That's a very realistic thing that people do. They think they're more important than everyone, and they get to make all the decisions. That is really, really shitty on her mom's part. You cannot surprise like that. Also, Maggie and Gary are, when they're talking about each other's mom issues, and Maggie refers to her as, she's like, our stuff goes so far back. Yeah, she's your mom. It literally goes all the way back. So yes, that is not special. That is, everyone's stuff with their parents goes pretty far back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically all I want to talk about with the Maggie mom sitch.
Yeah. She and Gary also eat cereal, just like Theo.
They like bad,
huh?
Like bad, just like
they
Theo,
just
or
both
they just
have cereal. Although Gary has a box of cereal, and Maggie gets hers out of one of those containers that you put it in after the box. And I was like, "What's that? Like you can't decide if you're a box or a container household?" That's weird.
Well, a little mixed marriage here. Gary does it, so he basically doesn't exactly know why Maggie's mad at first. He just knows he talked her into going to meet her mom. It didn't go well, and then he figures it out. And then he goes in and does kind of a couples therapy bit where he goes into her office.
Play therapy games in her office.
They play therapy games, which I think not bad to start it off. But then the trouble is, now we're going to get a power imbalance where the therapist is going to start being a therapist to you.
Yeah.
And that's not great for a relationship.
Yeah, he gets schooled real quick. He's like, you should talk to your mom. Therapy, therapy, therapy. And she's like, hi, actually, I think you have issues with your mom. What are those? And then he bounces pretty quick after that.
Yeah, and he sprung it on her, and he didn't mean it in a bad way. So I think it's not unfair for her to go there. But
no, it's not. Neither one of them is being an
Yeah.
asshole about it. It's just like they're both trying to accomplish something, and then
yeah, it's just not great. It's a weird thing, and I assume that's just a difficulty in being with someone who's a therapist. Is that like it's weird because being super honest and revealing about yourself to your partner is, I think, a good way to talk. But it's just weird when one is a therapist and then like, as I guess as long as they're not pulling that card, like, well, I'm right though, because I know this, like, then it's fine. But you don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's like, no, I'm the therapist, so I know what your problem is, and it's not equal, you know? So I mean, I think they're fine there. It's just like, oh yeah, that's the trick, I guess, if you try to therapy game a therapist. And also, it is bullshit when people try to fix other people's problems with their own parents. So Gary shouldn't be doing that.
Yes, Maggie points out that, it's like what I'm saying is you trying to fix something that is not yours to fix.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Which is true, and he's not coming from a bad spot, but at a certain point, it's like, well, you can't fix it for me and my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And you sort of, it's fine to offer advice, I guess, if you're doing it in a constructive, helpful way, but you kind of can't, I think you just can't harass the person about it. Fix your thing with your mom, your dad. You only have one mom, one dad. Fuck that. No, you don't know. You're not part of that relationship.
Maybe your one mom sucks.
Yeah, it's possible. A lot of people's one mom sucks. A lot of people one dad sucks. You don't have to fix shit with your parents just because they're your parents. I'm a bbig believer in this. I'll be the therapist on this. It's like parents have to earn your relationship to them too. You know, and there are a lot of parents who don't feel that way. A lot of grandparents who don't feel that way too. Like I have a grandparent who's just like, kiss the ring kind of a person. It's like, who the fuck are you? You're a friend of a friend, bitch. Like you have to be a decent person to your kid and to your parent. Like
you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's the old people show you who they are, then believe them. Right. And if they continue to suck, then it's like, well, call me if you're not sucking, I guess.
Yeah. Gary also mentioned that, and we mentioned before that Gary's a mark. He's a wrestling fan. The real Gary, James Roday. Yeah. And he mentioned in this that he and his dad used to watch wrestling on Mondays. Yeah. And bold move, because actually Monday Night Raw is we never mind. We were just watching this during Monday Night Raw. I thought for a second they were competitors. I was like, that would be bold. No.
I know. People are going to listen to that and switch and be like, oh, shit, I could be watching wrestling.
But yeah. So I thought that was a fun thing from real James Roday's life worked into the Gary character there. That was
very fun. When he's telling the story that leads up to the story of his mom leaving, and he opens up a little bit to Maggie and says that when his mom was walking out, basically she came and knocked on his door. And he thought if he didn't open the door, then she couldn't leave. But turns out she could, and she did, and he regrets it a lot. Because then he maybe hasn't talked to her since then. Mm-hmm.
Some real theologic as a kid. If you ask me.
I was going to say, it's exactly theologic. Mm-hmm. Real crossover there. Mm-hmm. Cereal. Mom's leaving.
Coincidence. So he does bring up and sort of illustrate what his issues are with his mom there.
Mm-hmm. And he calls his mom, Alice, at the end, but then hangs up and doesn't talk to her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Close, though. He's working his way towards it. He moved...
Inching towards it.
He moved the relationship along there, as opposed to the Maggie and Maggie's mom storyline, which just did a lap and ended up exactly where it was last week.
Yeah, they're all in the same room, at least, with Eric, who... I'm guessing is the mom's kid.
I think so.
Right?
I think so.
At this point, that's my conspiracy.
Yeah,
theory.
or he was Maggie's dead brother's boyfriend or something. Basically he has some connection to Maggie's brother then. All right, so we have one more person to cover which Gary's involved with a little bit, and then we'll get out of here.
Damn, Daniel.
Yep, that's who we're talking about.
Danny.
Jaimie, tell us about Danny, and did you enjoy the Danny storyline?
Great. Danny's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean specifically about this?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So Gary's gonna babysit the baby while Delilah is out on her non-date date. Mm-hmm. And he stops by the house and walks in on Danny dancing and singing to Grease Lightning. Oh my God, Danny got a call back for the play.
Did your school do Grease when you were in high school?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I remember.
I don't think mine did either, but it is a common one that people do, and it's a one that musical theater nerds really nerd out for.
Yeah, I know all the words to that shit. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because it is a sexy play, sort of. It's one of those things where it's like 50s talk, so it's like it doesn't
read as aggressively sexy
immediately,
as it is,
but it's like I think you when you do it with kids, you have to change the lyrics to Grease Lightning because they talk about the chicks are gonna cream.
Wow, that's like a Prince song.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think they switch it up, and then one of the girls is worried she's knocked up. It's like, all right, guys.
Yeah, there's some adult issues there.
Adult themes, but you know what? Danny can handle it because he told his mom to go get some on a date, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Turns out that he got called back for the part of Kenickie, which is Kenicky's kind of a skis ball, and I feel like Danny's not right for that part, even though he's amazing.
Sure.
And he hasn't told Delilah because she can't keep her mouth shut.
Yeah, she outed the kids before.
About the news, and because it's very complicated, it turns out Elliot, his sort of ex.
His former lover.
12-year-old lover.
Yeah.
Is also called back for Kenickie, so he's having some weird feelings about having to see him at auditions and not feeling good enough. And there was a lot of 12-year-old Danny that is like, wow, that could be today, Jaimie.
Yeah, I thought so too. Just what the kind of stuff he's going through.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
And it makes a lot of... he says, if I do a musical, people might think I'm gay. Mm-hmm. Gary points out, you are gay.
Yeah.
However, he says, I don't want to be the first one to come out. I don't want to be the gay kid for the rest of my life in school. And that is, I think, a very common sentiment. It's that's just going to be my brand.
Yeah, I think that's a really realistic worry.
Yeah, because it's because it's not even necessarily I think they'll think gay is bad, but it's just if I'm the first gay kid to come out, then I'm just the gay kid, and that's going to be it.
I mean, I remember the first kid I knew that was gay at my school too. It's. I think that is an interesting look into that. People who are gay, that must be absolutely something you consider. And I feel I wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah, and I feel like now is almost a weird in between time because probably for a lot of kids, when we were in high school, the obvious answer was to not be gay. If you can help it.
Yeah, in the 90s and late 90s and early 2000s, it's
almost less of a decision to just I'm going to say I have a girlfriend
and
in
Canada. In my school, basically everyone who came out as gay later, we knew, it wasn't a real secret necessarily, but yeah, but they, for the most part, and a couple of them came out, but, for the most part.
You're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And you don't want the label. You don't want the official.
Right.
If you're hi, I'm gay, then everyone has license to be you're the gay kid.
And I think you're saying in today, it's certainly less of an issue than it was then in that way, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with a lot of baggage anyway, in certain ways. Even if it's positive baggage, it's just, that's a thing. It's a label. There's a,
Yeah, and it's it's like that with everything. If you came out as the kid that loves recycling, it's you're going to be recycle kid for the rest of your life.
And Jaimie, when did you come out as that kid?
No, don't tell anybody. I don't know. I didn't come out as anything until college. I didn't come out as being a person who talked to people until college. So, and then it was all the stuff. Mm-hmm. Don't look at me. But so Gary convinces Danny to go to the callback. They go there with the baby. He's practicing with Danny. And, I thought when they're practicing in the room, Danny's really like whisper singing. He's sort of like not doing it. He's doing it like 25%. And it's just like, oh, I wonder if they're going to say that he's bad at this or if he's going to later like pull it out. Because he's definitely not. Dude, this is like dress rehearsal. This is like when at SNL people say Chris Farley used to do about like half level of how loud and weird he was going to be in a sketch, and then when the show was actually on, he would turn it up to like 20, and that's why people would break all the time, because all of a sudden he's just like moving like faster and bigger than he was before. So that's what I was thinking.
Great, grand, wonderful.
Yeah, he'd really freak it out pretty hard.
Exactly. So that's what I was thinking might happen. And I was right. But they get to the or they're still practicing. Basically, and there's a lot of good like growing up quotes here, because Gary tells Danny, "Don't be afraid of being yourself." And Danny says, "I'm terrified of being myself."
And that's something you feel.
Yeah, all the time. Since forever. Less so now than when I was Danny's age. But, by increments.
Sure, totally.
And it's like,
it's very vulnerable. And that's the thing when you're a performer, and I'm sure actors too, but certainly for someone who I'm a performer and I perform as myself. So when people don't like that, they don't like you. So that's a different element that performers have to deal with that a lot of jobs don't really, because there can be an accountant who's everyone's favorite guy in the office who sucks at numbers, and it's different because it's not as personal a thing in some jobs as it is in others, and it's not just performers. It can be like that with like teachers and stuff too. But when it's your own face and your own voice on the product, it's hard to say it's not about you if it doesn't go well. Right, it's about you and your personality and how you are, and sometimes people hate that.
Sometimes people hate it, and you just have to be like, well, great. I'm going to go be sad about that for a while and try again, I guess.
Right, so I also wasn't sure whether, is Danny not going to be that good, actually, but...
Yes, and you never know. You can't. You just have to go up there and do your thing and cross your fingers that people like it. And he does. He goes... Gary's peeking in. He starts a song. He has to start over. You're thinking, uh-oh, this might go terribly. They'll never have Danny on the show again. These are big stakes.
Danny's canceled.
And then he tries again, and he friggin' knocks it out of the park. He's got attitude. He's singing. I bet he sang the dirty words in there just because.
He threw it in. He's like, I won't do it when it's showtime, but I want you to know I know.
I want you to know that I know the words, and I can sell this character.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what Danny said in the episode. And he does great. And then Gary knows he does great, and he's very proud of him, and it's very adorable and awesome.
He's psyched, and then basically at the end of the episode, Delilah's coming in to check on Danny, who's on his phone, and this is a different thing for kids now, where they can be checking, who made the team, who made the, who got the roles, and he's checking on his phone, and they released the cast list.
Turns out the role of Kaneki went to Elliot.
Boo!
But, Elliot's more skeezy, I think. And it turns out it's fine because Danny got the role of, you guessed it, Danny.
Yeah, Danny plays Danny.
Which also, by the way, means he's going to have to dance with a girl.
Yeah,
and possibly smooch her.
He'll have no problem with that.
He'll have no problem. He's a fantastic actor. And then he sort of like tricks his mom, and then Delilah says, "You're so fresh tonight."
Excuse me, Delilah, are you gay?
What?
Yeah.
I was like, Danny is always very fresh. fresh out the kitchen. And the other thing, and that's it. Danny's, loves to fuck with Delilah and make her think that he's sad when he's not actually sad, which
he teases her.
Yeah, it's a fun Danny move. He makes her smile. And it's adorable. And before that, I thought he and Gary had a very nice heart-to-heart where he's talking about his feelings for Elliot. He says, I really liked him. He stopped talking to me, and it hurt so much. And Gary, gives him some just, good, not even that specific, but just good generic advice that, stuff's going to happen, and things will get better, and you will find people that love you because you're Danny, and you're great.
Yeah, Danny knows he's got a teammate there, and
Yes.
that's good. That's it. That's everything in this episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for Mixed Signals, Million Little Things, episode 3 of season 2. Dave will be back with us this week, and this week will be another one where we should have the episode out pretty much right after it airs on Thursday night, I believe.
Yeah.
And the only other note I like to note the music, and Saving Grace was the song that was played montage towards the end of the episode here by a band called, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'll say Hamza. It's Hamzaa. I don't believe it's Hamza. That seems weird. So I'll say it's Hamza.
I think it's Hamza.
Saving Grace. That was the only real new song that I noted here. Follow us at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram, at A Million Podcast on Twitter. Email us any stories you got from this episode or otherwise at millionlittlepodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't yet, please do rate and subscribe. Would be lovely. And if you want to write us a review, that would be lovely too. And if we see any fun ones, we'll read them off here and say hello. Jaimie, anything else before we go?
Nope.
Cool. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, a million little bye.